meeting. We have our committee online, and James, our supervisor liaison, and Ed Gibson and Mike Atara from Spirit Golf Fan, Makefield Highlands. So with that, I will turn it over to Ed Gibson and Mike.
Thank you. Good evening, all. It's been nice to have a nice stretch of weather here. Continue to stay busy at the golf course. Committee members, just want to make sure everybody got I was able to send the agenda out via email, and I did send the financials for everyone to review as well with that. So hopefully you got a chance at least look at it. Hopefully you have the agenda in front of it. I'm going to kind of work off the agenda for the most part, but did want to make sure everybody had the financials as well. I just tried to highlight a couple things. It was a good month for August. We'll get into that a little bit, but on the P&L, you'll see, the month versus the budget and also year to date. So there's a couple items in a few of the different departments as you go through the financials. Just a couple things that jumped out. We had in August, well, it's no surprise, unfortunately, that it's been so dry in the last few weeks, but we could certainly use a little bit of rain. It'd be nice to come in the evenings where it doesn't impact golf. But August was definitely a month where we had to purchase some water for the golf course. So you'll see a line item there for water that is a little higher than what we anticipated. We also had a little bit of an expense on the restaurant side, a little bit on some of our ice machines. So there's a couple line items in the budget that the P&L that you'll see that are a little higher. So I just wanted to highlight that. But overall, it was a good month. And if you go to the agenda, Mike and I have been using these benchmarks the last few years so we can kind of highlight some certain areas about rounds and green fees. So I'm going to kind of go to the first page off of the agenda and start kind of working down a little bit. When you look at the benchmark for rounds of golf played, everything on the benchmark is year to date, so it's through August 31st. So this year we have played 26,711 as far as number of rounds compared to 28,655 last year. So we're down 1944. Obviously, being closed 4.5 weeks impacted us tremendously. We know that. We were closed so far 63.5 days for the year. Compared to last year, we were at 35.5. So we know COVID obviously impacted our business tremendously. When you look at green fees, year to date, 876,071. And our cart fees are 316,160. So we're just under 1.2. We're at 1,192,232 year to date for green fees and carts. Versus last year, this time we're at 1,315,031. On the right-hand side, you'll also see the budget numbers, so you can kind of see how it compares to budget. But obviously, all those numbers were pre-COVID as well. So our budget was 1,450. Range fees for the year so far, we're a little over 100,000. We're at 106,075. Last year, this time we're at 127,871. Shop merchandise, so far this year, we're at 58,450. Last year, 110,184. So certainly shop sales have been impacted with, less traffic early on. As we go in our restaurant, certainly these are the numbers we know are really impacting a little bit higher, just because of the restrictions and everything. The public house so far through August was 191,939 versus last year we did 340,046. And certainly our event and our banquet section is really the biggest impact so far through August. This year we've done 25,752. And this time last year we did 119,804. So total food revenue this year, total F&B, we're at 219,692 versus last year at 459,850. So we know how COVID's impacting our. I'll tell you, I do think food and beverage has really been taking a nice stride. Our steering committee with Colin and everyone and the team have really been doing a nice job. And we'll get into some of the specifics for August and some of the numbers, how they've impacted in our, our fresh air dining and just the way we've been able to market that, advertise that, execute it. Certainly Mother Nature helps when the weather's nice. As we all know, we have great views out there. So we've really been able to take advantage of some of that. So we're starting to pick up some more momentum on the F&B, but certainly we had our hands tied there for a little bit. So those are kind of the benchmark numbers. Again, as I mentioned in the email, Mike, I don't know if you want to jump with anything here, but if there's any questions specifically off the P&L from the year to date or anything, we can answer any of those questions for you.
Yeah, no, I think you got it, and I think as we talk through August, it's nice to see some of the upswing going on. So go ahead, why don't you give the numbers on August, and then we can talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. As we kind of continue on, as Mike alluded to, just kind of touching on the golf course update, there's no question we've continued to stay busy. We've been very fortunate in that regard. Daily play with golf has been very consistent. And we've been, like we just mentioned, we've been picking up a little bit more on the F&B, both in the restaurant and with our banquets and events. We hosted 3 banquets, 1 wedding, and 1 golf outing in our tent during the month of August. So, that was, and we really had a lot of great success with that. Our first outing in August was our kind of first COVID golf outing. It's 108 golfers. I ended up having 135 guests in the tent, and it couldn't have gone better. So I was really proud of how the team organized everything. We had tables assigned. We called tables. It just was really, the customers felt comfortable. The food was good. So it was really good atmosphere. So, hats off to the efforts that went into making everyone feel safe and everyone feel successful. With that being said, the month of August for golf, we did 5,989 rounds of golf, and our budget was 6,100. So just about right on. We had one day in there that was some rain, so it's certainly going to impact us. The green fees for the month were $204,193 against the budget of $200,700. So we were a little over 100% on that. Cart fees were $80,254 against the budget of $68,690. So certainly we were over that. Merchandise for the month, we did pretty well for the month of August. We did $16,765, and we budgeted right at like $16,750. So, we've been able to have some nice success. Dave and Lauren have coming up with some different ideas, myself included, and they're to be kind of commended for doing an online promotion with a golf bag, personalization, really nice package for the customers. We've sold 12 golf bags. We don't have to store any of them in-house. We can turn and, make the product go right to the customer and have the sale. So we did our demo day. Dave has 2 demo days set. He had one this past weekend, and it was booked. So things have been, we're certainly seeing an uptick with merchandise. So I'm happy for that. The new golf carts have arrived. Yes. It's been a long time coming, but we're happy to have the Yamaha QuietTech gas. So thanks for all the support with the committee and Mike, certainly, and all the efforts that have gone behind the scenes to make it work. There's been some conversation about, and this is kind of comes back to the committee, and we're still kind of working through this of possibly raising the cart fee $1 or $2 a person, possibly. I mean, certainly this is the time to kind of be thinking about that. And, I think conversations have come up, and, Mike and I have talked about, kind of getting the feedback from all of you on the committee, if this is the time to possibly raise a non-resident rate, or if we're looking at rates just in general, if this is the time to maybe kind of move that. So, so there's been some discussion there. Nothing has been decided, but hopefully we, as a committee, can talk through it. And is there anything you wanted to add in there, Mike?
Yeah, let me just, on the budget, I think from the subcommittees level that we finished up our second draft, we'll be sending that to the entire committee. And I think it'd be probably prudent then, as we look through those numbers, I'll be sending those to the township to start that process with Kurt to review that. But I think, I think one of the things that came out of those conversations was definitely a cart rate increase. And then non-resident, just, at what level do we feel comfortable looking at that non-resident rate? We're certainly, we're still seeing plenty of play coming through, and we think there's an opportunity there to pick that rate up a little bit. We'll kind of look at what comparisons are, but I think from what I'm hearing and in the market is, everybody's thinking about rate increases for next year. So I don't think we'll be doing anything different than anybody else. We are still at the highest rate in the marketplace, so something to consider as well. But we still think there's a little room there. So I think, why don't we if you guys want to give any feedback now, or we can kind of table that, get the budget to you, and then kind of take your questions and comments from there, whichever you prefer.
Why don't we do?
You're muted, Rich.
I muted. I thought I was muted. Anyway, why don't we do a quick round the horn on the thoughts on the budgets? I do have one quick question, Ed. When did the carts get there? Did they get in the last?
They got here on Monday. There was one shipment this past Thursday. Then we had a shipment on Friday, and then we had more yesterday. So everything's in house, and then tomorrow we have a couple more utility carts being delivered.
So are you gonna keep the extra carts that we had, because there were all different models there on?
No, they were kind of helping us bridge the gap. Both Club Car we had some gas rentals, and then Yamaha sent 20 gas rentals to kind of help bridge the gap, because there was a little bit of a delay in production. So all the Club Car electrics are off campus now. All the Yamaha gas rentals are off campus, and we have a couple more pieces being picked up and dropped off this week. But.
And are we? We're still offering single use per person.
Yeah.
So if for some reason you had a large number of people that wanted their own cart on a busy morning, you would run out of carts.
There's a possibility of that. I think that's a possibility no matter what day it is. But I guess in theory, yes. We have 75 cars. That was what our number was with our previous lease. And that's what Mike and I decided to stick with this year, to stick with the 75. So we'll have 75 operating vehicles,
I think it's the right decision.
Yeah.
I understand the decision. I just want to make sure that's what it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Rich, I think there is also, we were running probably at about 65 carts through this period of time. So I think with 75 carts running, we'll be most likely be okay. We're not getting that many single rider carts anymore, so we should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we're certainly able to manage it. Mm-hmm.
So committee, what do you think? Do you want to talk about the rates now, or you want to wait till Ed's gone through the whole presentation?
I prefer to maybe make some comments. I don't know what else you wanted to comment on, Ed.
Well, he's going to go through the whole presentation.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So it's up to defer to the committee. We can hold it, or we can talk about it now.
I'm fine talking about it now.
Hey, Rich, having looked at the budget for 2 weeks with Ed and Mike and Joe, I think everybody should have the budget in front of them and understand how our numbers net out before they can really make a educated decision on increasing either the golf or cart rental, or because I know that we brought up cart rental during our discussion, with Ed and Mike. Our budget is so very, very tight. There's not a ton of room. Certainly, we could discuss that, but I think it'd be better that we discuss it with everybody looking at the numbers and understanding the numbers before they can weigh in on where we are on increases.
The other
Yeah,
problem
I
is,
tend to.
go ahead, Mike. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I would just say I tend to agree that I'd like to get that to everybody. Now that we've kind of went through the process with the subcommittee, I think it would be smart that everybody got to look at it, and we can answer any questions from the subcommittee's level of how we got to these numbers. Yeah, Joe.
Right. I think the process was great. I mean, you took an average of, 8 years, or 9, 10 years, getting rid of the worst year, getting rid of the best year. The problem is going to be, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID. So if we have another score, and that's a bad thing, I guess, but the golf course will be booked solid again next year. If not, then, we're going to go back to where we were, and we're going to go back to, 10-minute tee times, and maybe have to bring the leagues back, or we're going to have to, I don't think we can make decisions at this point. I think we got to ride this out and see what happens. See what the fall brings. I mean, really.
Well,
Yeah, I don't think we need to make a decision tonight. I think it's something that, again, we're going to go through the process with the township and get the supervisor's feedback and Kurt's feedback. So, I think we have a little time to kind of formulate, everybody's observations of the budget and kind of where things are with COVID and going forward.
Well, and the reality is, if we have a budget that, albeit tight, works, we can always increase the rates, as what Joe just suggested and Mark just suggested about looking at the budget and seeing what the fall brings. We can make a decision to increase the budget at a later date, or a recommendation from our side to increase the budget. Supervisors agree to it. That can happen later on. That would only be upside. So, if in fact,
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
if in fact this whole budget is, I guess it depends on how tight it is. And, Mark, I think it's a great suggestion you just made, that we should all look at it, because historically, with all respect to Spirit Golf and their predecessors, we haven't been particularly good at hitting our budgets. So, through nobody's fault. I mean, it's just, weather and things like that. I think you guys have done a much better job the last couple of years budgeting, with realistic budgets. But, I think, Mark, you made a good suggestion. Why don't you continue?
You got it.
After.
So, all right. So moving on, I'm going to go to kind of switch gears a little bit. We're going to go to food and beverage, and then we're going to go back to some of the golf related items on the agenda. But just touching on some of the numbers, since we were there for a little bit. Again, this is monthly numbers for August, food and beverage specific. The revenues for the month total were $69,419 against a budget of $91,705. So all in, it was about just a little over 75%. When you break those numbers down, which we do, so you guys can see everything, the public house revenue for the month was $55,050 versus a budget of $68,537. So that again was about 76%. And our banquets and events revenues for the month of August was $14,369 versus a budget of $25,526. On the agenda, so again, those numbers are, those are moving up in the right direction compared to where we were in previous months, getting more activity, getting more, events, getting more just consistent service with customers feeling comfortable and coming out. So we're seeing that more consistently daily, in addition to what our golfers bring every day. So that's nice, having 230 plus, customers every day to try to entice them. So that's been going pretty well. If you look at, I'm not going to go down all of them, but there were a number of events in August, and we have a number of them in September and October. So I tried to bullet them on the agenda for you. So, but just to highlight, we had like I said, we had a wedding reception on August 15th of 35 people. And then on the 21st of August, we had both the ceremony and the reception on a Friday evening, about 50 people. So definitely getting, more and more inquiries. And a couple weekends ago, we ended up having back-to-back weddings, and then we went right into a new outing that we never had before, the Kiwanis Club from the Yardley. So it was great. It was really, really good. So we're starting to see that. So I just want to, and Amy and the team and everybody and Travis are doing a great job. So I just wanted you to see some of the events upcoming. So again, refer to the agenda on that. We did pick up 3 more outings that were new or rescheduled that'll be had in September. So those dates are Bucks County and Sewer Water is one of them. They're coming this week. And then we have Bethana Golf Outing, who's been with us for a while. They're rescheduled. And then we have another one at the end of the month that was a new one. So again, things are moving with events and banquets and food and beverage. Chef and the Colin and everyone on the steering committee, we had a meeting a couple weeks ago. We're already talking about, and we're going to be instituting a new our new fall menu. Is going to be going into this weekend. So Chef Mark has kind of put in some new selections, maybe taking a couple of the summer items off. Technically today was the last day of summer. So we're going to kind of walk into this week with some new fall-like selections on the menu. So keep your eyes open for that. And we're coming up with some different themed ideas as well. We're in lieu of the Fall Classic, just where the event has been in the past, we're going to do kind of an Oktoberfest themed menu over the weekend of the 16th and 17th, I think, of October. So definitely trying to come up with some creative ways. Andy's been helpful with that. So it's been good. Colin, did you want to mention anything off of the steering committee since we're in food and beverage specific, or you just want me to kind of continue on the agenda? Maybe not. Okay. Let's circle back.
You're muted, Colin. He's muted.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk on that. Mark and I have been working and changing the menu. I feel that, obviously the season's changed, so a menu needs to change too. Nothing too crazy, but adding more of a fall theme in there. And to go with that, I've noticed we've had a lot of action on Friday and Saturday nights, people coming out on a Friday. And I was driving today on 295 and I saw the beautiful billboard that's up there. Mm-hmm. I know you've seen that on 295. There's a billboard advertising us. And I think whoever put that together, or I'm assuming it's our marketing with Andy, did a great job. I think driving past, you can see it made me feel like this would be a safe place for me to go and eat. And I thought that was a great addition to that and a great way of marketing what we're doing there. And just to reiterate, the wedding business, we have been talking for a long time about increasing that. I think it has been increasing, and that's due to the team and the team effort. Ed and the team have been doing a really good job there of marketing that and getting people in, and that's been great to watch. And if we didn't have the COVID thing, I think it could have been even bigger. And then, Ed, I just have one question I wrote. The revenue down, how much would you say that is to do with us being limited to 25% of people in the building?
I think it plays certainly significant. I think one of the biggest numbers that has been pretty impactful has really been banquets and events. We had, I think it was through June, maybe, our banquet and event number was pretty significant. It was over close to 100,000, and this year was very, very low. So I do, to answer your question, Colin, I think the percentage inside, because I think people just generally feel comfortable being outdoors, has certainly played has had an impact. There's no question.
And you think the change is coming soon to 50% will make a difference?
I think it's going to help because as the temperatures are dropping. We're certainly have options for outdoors, but you know how it is at Makefield. There's always wind. Even these last 3 days, when we had temperatures in the low 50s, when you get a 5 to 7 mile an hour wind, that 50 degrees feels like 40. Now I know there's things we can do. We can put the side panels down. I think we're entitled to have 2 panels down on the tent and still have considered fresh air for the circulation. But, and heaters can be had, but I think it's different in an environment where we have high ceilings in our clubhouse, so there's a little bit more airflow better. So I certainly think as we get colder, with the 50% being indoors, I think that could help us really. So we have to get, and that's on my items too here is to, today is the process to try to get we have till October 5th to start the certification process that our facility has to go through to become eligible to have the 50%. So Mike and I and others have talked about it. We'll start the process to get that going, but we still need to find out exactly what the wording is and what it's allowing us to do or not do when it comes specifically to events.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Okay, Mike, did you want to mention anything else there when we're on that topic?
No, I think you hit it, Ed. I think the real question, Colin's going to be as it gets colder. Having 50% obviously will help with golfers for sure. It's really going to be about what the public perception is about dining. Not at Makefield, but at anywhere, and how many are going to be comfortable going inside. So, as Ed alluded to, I think it's a very comfortable feeling room because of it's very spacious. So we have that going for us, and we're going to market that and use that to our advantage. And then, we're looking at heating the tent in different ways and what's the best options for us to get as much as we can at outdoor dining. So we'll continue to look towards those things.
I'm curious. A while ago, when we first started playing again, you had the beverage cart stationed by the 8th green. Mm-hmm. And I think that they were doing a fair amount of business, people coming up and either ordering the hot dogs or the drinks before they made the turn. That's gone away. I mean, you've got a sign there, but they're pretty much driving around now, or at least when I've been out on the course. Have you seen any difference in volume between when they were stationary and when they were moving?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, Rich. I think that certainly the phone's ringing. There are a number of orders that are coming through at that window. We felt like keeping the beverage cart moving to certainly be able to capture a little bit of service on the back 9, because once you turn at the 9th hole, that was really the last spot. But no, I think that grab and go concept is still working pretty, fairly well. I think there's a little down, but I think it's still working pretty well. The phone's ringing, and we've been staying pretty busy with it. And I think as we look at how we can continue, the one thing is with the previous cart lease we have a smaller bev cart that we actually purchased a few years back. So if we want to feel like we want to service that, we're putting a smaller cart there and just keep it stationary and while having the newer bev cart that just came with this new lease kind of mobile, we can certainly do that. But I think the menu concept has been helping, and I think this new software that we're going to be changing to is going to give us some options to remotely on the cell phone.
Might be a good experiment.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah. Thank you.
So Ed, let me present a problem. It's Jim Richardson.
Yeah, Jim.
2 Fridays ago, I had a couple of couples lined up to come for dinner. And Friday night is kind of a big dinner out night in this part of the town, this part of the world. And so I checked and found that there was an event. I mean, God bless us. There was a big event there. And so the best we could hope for would be a sandwich out on the deck. And I wonder, is there not a way to of those nights, especially a Friday night, gee whiz, to double up on capacity, double up on serving capacity, kitchen capacity, so that we can serve real dinners in the face of an event. Why can't we gear up to do both?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. That's something that the steering committee, we've been talking a lot about, is to try to figure out, ways to not close the restaurant when we have an event of, medium or larger size. So that particular Friday was one of the evenings where we had one of the weddings that we were hosting. So we talked about it as a committee real quick, and we said, listen, I think we can go to a limited menu. We can create some specials. One of which Chef and I talked about was they're doing a chicken franchise, and they did a teriyaki salmon for the entrees. And we said, well, maybe we can create kind of an option possibly for that being a special, since that was going to be the main protein for the meal. So we're certainly trying, Jim. I think the biggest challenge in that kitchen, if you're back there, and Colin, and others that cook have seen it, it's a challenge. That was a plated wedding, and there's not much space back there. So we were trying to come up with options, really, to make it where we're not closed.
Yeah, I think, Jim, with a plated event, it's you'd just be looking at a disaster if we were trying to do too much. You got to be mindful of what we're working with, and we're conscious of that. We understand it, and we know what we can and can't do, and trying to do something that just doesn't fit. When you're doing plated, it just takes up too much space. So it would be really, really difficult to do a good job on the a la carte side with a full menu. So it's just not possible with that type. And, that's kind of why we went the direction with the tent and, having those options for catering, and obviously doing plate up, if we're, you're doing it out of different kitchen is a whole different situation. So, but the banquet events that we're doing, the buffets, we tend to seem to be able to, be in a position, you're prepping all that in advance. So it's a lot easier to still have your line set for a la carte dinner. But in a plate up like we were having Friday, that would be very difficult to do. So.
Okay, I hear you, but it would have been nice to be able to slide up there and have a steak and fries, which would not seem to be an excessive difficulty upon the kitchen. And I just hate to close down the kitchen for lucrative outside neighbor focused, neighbor center dinners on a big out dinner night like Friday. And I'm not sure how to solve it. I simply pose the question, is there a way? I know country clubs handle it fine, and I wish we could.
Jim, this kitchen is not a country club kitchen. This is not the same thing. You're talking about two apples and oranges, honestly. So you got to be very mindful of what we're working with size-wise. This is not designed to put up a plate up and run a la carte at the same time. It's just not there. And Colin, I think you could probably speak to it better than anybody.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, the kitchen is tiny. It's a banquet kitchen is a very different animal than an a la carte kitchen. A la carte meaning what you would love to see is like food cooked to order for people coming in and using it as a restaurant. So when we do have a banquet like that, the whole kitchen has to shut down because there's no room, as Ed said, for plate up. When you do a banquet, you've got to plate 50 meals in one go. That takes up the whole kitchen just to lay the plates down and get them plated up. So when there's a banquet like that, and we don't really want to turn that type of business away because we see that as a growth. So if we start turning business away, they might not come back. And the more people that come there and try the banquets, I think the word of mouth is going to be there and get more people in the future from that. So it's a difficult situation, and we would love nothing more than to be able to provide both. But if you look at the bottom on the capital plan, there's an item there as an outdoor grill, and I think setting up outdoor at some point might be a way of taking the edge off that, is to build up that outdoor area. So when we do have something going on in the building, the outdoor can double down for, things like you want to bring a group of people there for dinner, they could eat outside, but, obviously weather pending when we're using the main building for an event, a banquet, that type of thing. And then when it's the other way around, we're outside cooking, maybe we can use that grill area for some things for the wedding and open up more space in the kitchen. So to get more cooking space, more kitchen space, I think is going to help us so we can get by that problem you brought up.
Well, that's a great explanation, and I get it. And perhaps your solution of having a separate situation outside, perhaps a barbecue or something, is terrific. So great. I'm delighted you're thinking about it, and I hope we can solve it.
Absolutely.
We just
Great.
want to bring people in, bring the public in, and make Makefield Highlands for golfers and the people in the town. And it does break my heart when I hear what you said, Jim, that people want to come there and eat, but the facility was never built that way and built with a banquet kitchen and that. So we're between a rock and a hard place on that. But I think, and like I said, an outdoor kitchen will really open it up for the locals as well as the golfers.
That's
With
great
that
stuff.
in mind,
Great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
with that in mind, I'd like to move back to the primary revenue driver in terms of the Makefield Highlands.
Mhm.
So, number one, I use the carts on Friday and Sunday. They are lovely and clean and neat and worked very well. And the breaks were wonderful. That's always a good thing. So, and I do want to compliment you in terms of keeping, given the situation, at least, you're down, I guess, 400,000 in terms of the revenue line. And then, you were able to cut back on expenses. So overall, I think you're doing a great job. I really do.
Thank
The only comment I have, and it's occurred to me several times, the T sheet, two issues. Number one, when you have a cancellation, even with enough time, it appears that it's not always filled. So, for example, I was in a foursome. It could have been a threesome. It could have been a foursome because there was another slot. And this seems to occur frequently. And the other thing is, I understand there may be situations in terms of cancellations, a pattern of cancellations in terms of individuals, number one, or a pattern of individuals paying for 9 and continuing on to do 18. Or the other, which is something I would be happy to do, and that is if you have a group with 2 playing 18, 2 playing 9, I wouldn't mind coming in and adding to that group after the 9 have come off 9 and start 10 for a round. So those are the kinds of things that I'm trying to figure out. Is there a way to accommodate that and even drive additional revenue?
Yeah, I would answer a few of those points. Helen, is certainly
At the roundabout, take the third exit.
our key sheet right now is a very important topic. We know that not challenge, but we know how high the demand is. Being 14 days out for reservations for the non-resident, and obviously our residents get 21 days out. Right now, we're probably 5 to 7 days booked out ahead of time. So certainly we're aware that, if cancellations come about, that we can try to backfill those as quickly as we can. I don't
6.4 miles. Take the exit onto Route 179 south toward Lambertville.
We think that they might be doing, but what we suggest is we tell players that are calling in the system we have with TSNAP doesn't really allow us to have a digital waiting list of any kind. So we kind of create a waiting list at the counter, or we'll suggest players that are looking, if they have a little bit of time, to maybe come and practice, or to give us a contact number, and so that if something does shake out, or if there's a foursome that booked and that morning someone was ill or something happened and they came as three, that we might be able to backfill that player or person right away. I know myself, I've called 2 or 3 individuals if we've seen one or more cancellations and they haven't called, notified, or anything. So because we're trying to eliminate that as quickly and as effective as we can. And I think as we're changing to our new software come November, there are certain things that Mike and I and the team have been talking about specifically to no-shows in a sense, and create a kind of updated policy of what we feel might, and we kind of also want to put it back on the committee to make it feel, what we all generally think is the right decision. Because I think sometimes when someone is booking a reservation, and let's say if it was under my name, and then one person called that morning of, and I ended up calling and canceling or whatever it might be, I think, if there was a policy right away that somebody was going to be charged, there's some just different parameters that all of a sudden somebody might feel pushed back. So,
Ed, can I jump in a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I help? Yeah, let me, Helen, just to your comment, I think there's 2 things there. There's no-shows where there's habitual no-shows, what Ed's referring to. If we have an issue with a group no-showing or booking 4 and then coming as 2, Ed is handling that as a manager. That's just typical. We're dealing with that customer. The other no-show situation is the simple, group books for 4, someone last minute cancels, and they show up at the counter as a threesome, and so to fill that threesome can be difficult at times. And then there's a philosophical question of who pays for that. Are you going to the person that booked the foursome is going to pay for that, or will the individual, who we may or may not have their information, be charged for that no-show? So there's some questions there that we should talk about, because it's not as cut and dry as let's just charge for no-shows. We are fortunate in the new system. 2 things that Ed just
Which
mentioned.
system? The one currently or a newer one?
No, the new one coming in, the 4-up
All right,
system.
so the system's not working.
No. The one we currently have does not provide what we need, and the new one does. So it'll help a bunch, because it provides a wait list digitally that we can reach out to customers to their cell phone and send them a notification that a time has opened up that they were interested in. We can send out messages minutes before. So if someone calls that day, we can put a note out to somebody same day and let them know right on their cell phone that something's opened up. So there's a little more opportunity there than we've had with the existing system. And then we really just got to talk about policy, because the COVID situation right now is such, we're asking people not to show up if they don't feel well. So we can't tell people we're going to charge them for not showing up. So there's that COVID situation. But going beyond COVID or before COVID, it's always tricky, because you only have the individual that is booking, that's taking the effort to make the tea time for the group. Penalizing that person, to me, is not a great policy. So it's just something we got to talk through and figure out what's best.
I think there are a few people that are well trained in your staff that could manage this a little bit better than it appears to me that it's being managed. So just stop there. I'm happy there's a new system.
I'm not sure what you mean by some people, but we're prepared to manage it. Yeah.
As Mike had mentioned, with transition to a new system, we've been using TSNAP for a few years now. We've been making the switch over to 4-up, which is very similar platform to TSNAP. It has a little bit more bells and whistles, and certainly the waiting list feature. There's a lot of similar things that we're doing right now that's working really well with the contactless credit card information that's updated on customers' profiles. So we want to try to continue to do that to make it easier for customers, as those that have played have seen. And we've been also on the new system, make it mandatory to book an online reservation. The person has to have either their credit card on file, or they have to, upload their credit card information right there. They're not paying for that tee time when they book online. They're paying when they check in, which is what we want them to do, because rates are different, and the resident status can be different, and et cetera, et cetera. But we certainly can make it mandatory that if in the new system, along with a waiting list and a few other things that are very helpful, that we can make it credit card being mandatory to book online. So we have a little bit more of a filtering process as well. So there's a loyalty component that is very good there with 4UP that we're gonna bring that back. That has been tabled for a few years. So once we get our arms around the system itself, I think in the new year you'll start to see a new loyalty program. Again, I haven't mentioned earlier about the online virtual golf shop concept. I mean, that was one of my goals over the last few years, and we haven't had a chance to really dive into it with TSNAP, but I think our new system is going to give us some opportunities to do some really nice, great things for customers, and be able to help build sales and create both in shop displays and also online displays. So I think there's going to be some really good stuff in the pipeline. So we're excited. We're working through all the back of the house stuff now to try to get it. And we're certainly going to make sure the customer is aware of timeline transition, how the process is going to be moving into the new software. So we want to make it as easy as possible for both staff and customers. So that's kind of where we are with that.
Ed, there was some talk about not having marshals on the course, and maybe having some software to tell you where the carts are and where the delays are.
Yeah, so Mike and I were talking around, kind of circling back to the budget drafts, and what Joe's alluding to is a little bit of just kind of our outside personnel with rangers and starters. Certainly, I think when we look at our business and how we can improve service, I think our welcoming and our greeting area in front has certainly been something we've learned that has been a really nice added touch. And I think as we've changed a little bit of the tea times, we've gone back to 10 minutes at the start of the day for a few hours. The bulk of the day is 12. And then right now at 3 o'clock or later, we're back to 10 minutes. So the players are able to kind of space out themselves a little bit. And we feel like, there might be some opportunities for us to go digitally to help us with that ranger concept, and be able to reutilize some of the staff in areas out front or up in different areas versus just, on course. So it's kind of got tabled, Joe, but I think we're certainly going to be looking into that to see how, what would be the most effective way to.
Yeah. And Joe, I did get 3 different vendors that we are getting information from. So it's something that we'd like to present. And basically everybody, it's pace and play management tools that are GPS driven. So unlike, and there are GPS systems where you can put for the golfer, but there's also systems that are less expensive that just provide more of a pace and play tool for the golf shop, so they can see all the golf carts, track all the golf carts, know where they are as far as time, and be able to communicate to those golf carts. So those are the things we're looking at as an option to maybe save some labor and improve some of the pace and play.
Well, just so you know, one of the complaints is I'm complaining about my group, which the first group finished 55 minutes before the second group on Saturday. We only had lunch, we had dinner too. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, we had one group. There's no question. Trying to think. All right. But let me go into talk about golf course. Let's just touch on maintenance quickly. Mark and the crew were busy. Well, they're always busy, but last week they had their hands full with green aeration. They completed that last Tuesday and Wednesday, the 15th and 16th. So we got Mark and the crew got the greens completed. The tees and the fairways are going to be kind of an ongoing thing as weather and time allows. I think one of the things right now is just that we're so dry. I mean, we were absolutely so dry out there. The fairways are very firm, so he's not going to be able to put any type of holes in them right now. But certainly something he's going to be looking to do here. Certainly the tees probably would be next, and then fairways would be after that. So. The golf course is in good shape, even with the rounds we've been had, and we're excited that the course has been very receptive to all the rounds we've had. The last thing I had, I know we touched a little bit about marketing and advertising, and Colin had mentioned the billboard on 95. Andy Cantor Design has been doing a number of different ads with us. He and I and the team periodically, well, he and I meet every Thursday, but we touch base with everybody as far as different campaigns, whether it's email, social media, with this fresh air dining, or it could be golf related. Our big push right now is going to be about our Folds of Honor coming up in November. And surprisingly, maybe not, it was a nice surprise, but fortunately last year in 2019, we were one of the top performers as a facility for Folds of Honor. So they presented us with a really beautiful plaque that came in the mail, and it's in the golf shop, and it's really, really cool. So last year alone, I think we were almost 10,000 is what we raised for Folds as a facility. So hopefully this year we can top that and keep that moving forward. But so you're seeing Andy kind of use the YouTube channels like we've been doing, and as Colin mentioned, the billboard's up. So, really trying to get as much advertising as we can, even in the fall days ahead, with hopefully nice weather and some fire pits and some activity on the restaurant side. So, so that's been going pretty well. And the last thing I had on the agenda was just some capital plan items. I know we touched a little bit about one or two of them. We've been talking about the outdoor grill. We had some landscape lighting we want to update. Regarding maintenance specifically, we're in desperate need of a new rough mower, so that needs to be replaced. The bunker project has been continuing ongoing, so that's certainly a couple more pieces there. And if you've noticed, the outside of the maintenance building, there's like a wooden facade that over the last few years, it's got rotted out, so we need to replace the facade that's on the outside of the maintenance building. So just kind of bulleted a few items there to kind of touch in on the capital plan there. Is there anything else, Mike, that I'm missing, or maybe didn't mention?
No, I think, the equipment wise, it's important. We keep the equipment updated. We obviously have pulled back a little bit on our normal equipment purchases, and in order to kind of try to meet the debt service as best we could. But those things have to happen. We got a rough mower that just has to be replaced. So it's one of those situations. So we're trying to save as much as we can on capital, but at the same time, it's really critical that we stay ahead of it. So that's just one of those things that we want to make sure that gets addressed.
Yeah. I just have, how about the driving range, the mats, and a little bit of cosmetic things there, or even the mats without the tees in them? What's happening there? Or is that an area where you're trying to work on it? Given, I guess the range is another one of those extremely profitable areas for us, right?
Yeah, no question, Helen. The range is certainly one that is always high on our list. And we've talked about it, Mike, myself, the committee, Mark. We know we want to put some time and effort. It needs some real, so, we need some attention to the range itself or the field. So we're kind of coming up with some different concepts too, and just kind of pricing some things out when it comes to, all the mats and possibly, really kind of, giving it a little bit of a new look. So yes, there's no question. I think when it comes to capital, the range is absolutely going to be something that we want to put our eyes on.
Hey, Ed, a couple of years ago, I know that we thought we could generate some substantial business out of the Bridge Commission headquarters. And I wonder if we marketed that and if anything materialized.
I'm sorry, you said Bridge Commission?
The Bridge Commission building down at the bottom of the hill.
Jim, I don't think anybody's in the building right now with COVID for the last 6 months.
All right, that's all empty. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Got it.
I can tell you this though, Jim, that before COVID hit, Marley and I went down and kind of introduced ourselves to a few of the staff down there and brought a few dozen wings and kind of tried to play friendly neighbors and gave, some banquet menus and our restaurant menu. And there was no question we made a lot of friends that day. So yeah, we're doing whatever we can when we can to spread the word for sure coming up the hill.
So that's excellent. Cool. Thank you. I didn't realize, Rich, that the building was still pretty empty. I guess they were pretty full up. Sorry.
No, it's a good question. I think I did the right thing. I think it's just circumstances right now. A lot of the office buildings continue to be empty.
Yeah. So, okay, that's everything I had on the agenda. I know we touched about a number of different things, but that's everything we had for this evening.
Thanks, Ed. Committee, let's make sure that before the next meeting, we all got to look at the budget. Mike, if there's any other changes to it before, say, the beginning of October, if you could resend it, and then committee, let's make sure we look at it. Our next meeting looks like October 19th at 7:30 instead of 7 o'clock because we have multiple meetings. I'll send out a reminder, hopefully before the day of. And I think October 19th is a Monday, so it is our regular day. It's just going to be at 7:30. So I'll send that reminder out, but if you could all note it. So if we can get a look at that, let's make sure we have it on the agenda, Mike and Ed, to talk about rates. And we'll have another month, the month of September in there. So we'll be through our busy season for an unusual year, with 16-minute tea times. And so we'll see what it all looks like. If you do the math, if we were at 10-minute tea times with the days that, even with the days that we lost, I think we'd be on budget versus 12-minute tea times. It's a 16% difference. So the golf courses have been busy. So you guys are doing a good job there. I think, the conditions are a little tough right now without the rain. You guys know what needs work. So Helen, thank you for pointing out the range. It wasn't on my list, but it's definitely could use some either new match or some changes. I think I know what they're talking about on some of the concepts. So whatever, if you guys want to show us something where that's concerned in the coming months, I think that would be a good idea too.
For sure.
Do you want to go a quick, do you have anything else before we go around the horn?
No.
Let me start with the person who was on the call first, Mark.
I'm good. We had a great budget meeting with Joe, myself, Ed, and Mike. I thought we both, everybody seems to be on the same page. And I look forward to reviewing that budget with the rest of the committee.
On behalf of the committee, thank you both for doing this on your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, they didn't even serve any snacks. I was kind of a little upset with that.
I saw the note that said bring your own snacks, so you must have missed that one. Helen? You're on mute, Helen, but we got the hand signal.
Got the hand.
Fine.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Colin?
I'm good.
Thank you. Jim, and I will not forget about the minutes. Dave?
Rich, you always forget about the minutes, but beyond that, I have nothing else. I dove in a couple of times tonight, and I think that Ed and Mike are doing a sensational job. This is the toughest year I can imagine for this kind of business. And the fact that we're keeping our heads above water and making progress, I think is sensational. So thank you. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Dave?
Yeah, Rich, last week you asked if the new members have any ideas. Do you want to hear my ideas, or?
What I'd like you to do is send them to me so we can go through them. You send them to the whole committee, not just to me. Send them to the whole committee. Let us go through them because some of them, I don't want these meetings. We're trying to keep them to a time frame. So if there's some of them that we as a committee may be able to help answer, but if there's others, at least that way, we'll get them in front of these guys. But if you have something, send them to the whole committee. You have everybody's email address, and then we can talk about them at the next meeting.
Okay.
No, thank you for the reminder, and same for Tim. Joe, if you talk to Tim, because I don't think he's on tonight.
Okay.
Our public attendee, Kim, if you have any questions or comments. You're on mute.
I'm mute.
Sorry about that. So no, again, thank you for including me. Ed, I've seen you many times. Great job keeping everybody safe out there. I know your team's working really hard. I think just one additional maintenance, and I'm really going to look at that as an opportunity. There's lots of ball marks. And I think, unfortunately, because it's a public course, trying to keep up with that. But it could be as simple as perhaps putting up some signs or holding golfers accountable to clean up their ball marks. So that might just be, one way to just try to push it. I don't know if you want to, and I can pop my head in next time I see you, and I can just give you some thoughts around that if you want. So, but
Yeah, thanks, Kim.
and it's less about the staff and the maintenance of your team, and frankly, it's more about the golfers need to take responsibility. So there's some thoughts I have around that.
Thank you. Yeah, just to touch on it real quick, one of the things with the new carts is we split up the little windows or the message display windows. So there's actually going to be one that's going to be on the bottom half of the windshield. And the whole concept there was, if you've played other places, sometimes you just have your rules of the facility of all the reminders to the golfer because you're constantly looking straight ahead at the windshield. The one display window above that hangs from the ceiling would be kind of more advertised driven, but the whole reason for that one right in the front and center is to hit all those key points because we can't get it in front of the golfer enough. So thank you for that.
Good. I can help you validate that list. So thanks.
A good suggestion, Ed, though, every time we have an event, association event, that each group gets a hole. And you just, when you're out there, you just fill in divots in the fairway, I mean, we're all getting spike marks on the greens. We're walking around all day long. But, it's worked before in other places that I've been in,
Yeah, no, thank you for that. That's all good feedback. We talked about maybe do like a third. The first 6 holes are A through F and middle, whatever it might be. So yes, definitely that could be something we can kind of steer them a little bit more towards and get some help from you. So
yeah, I mean, I think everybody would be willing to do it without a doubt.
Thanks, Joe. James, anything from the supervisors?
Nope. I just want to reiterate, Ed and Mike doing a great job under the current conditions. That you guys are really faced with a lot of challenges, and we appreciate the hard work that you're doing. It sounds like there's a couple of spots for improvements, but it sounds like the committee's doing a good job with addressing all those concerns. So I appreciate that as well.
thank you.
James. So we have, Jim, 2 things. One, I forwarded you an email from Barbara Ellison at the township a while ago. She's missing a fair number of minutes, so if you can resurrect that, find that email, we got to get them over to her. And then secondly, we have minutes from last month from the July 20th meeting to approve. So Jim sent them out to everybody earlier today. Jim, nice job typing them up. So I need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jim, minutes are approved, so I didn't forget.
Or a star.
Thank you. Nothing else from my side. Appreciate everything that Ed and Mike are doing. If you guys haven't been out there, the deck and the patio is working pretty well. It was a couple Fridays ago, so try and get out there while we still have some daylight before I guess November 1st. And we've got the club championship this weekend. So I'm playing in it. I'm sure Joe is. I'm sure Helen is. Kim, you might be. So good luck to everybody. And we'll see you all out there. Dave, I don't know if you're playing it or not. So if you are.
Not this weekend.
All right.
No,
good luck to everybody.
Doesn't matter. I'm going to win anyways.
Just over an hour. So thanks everybody for that. October 19th at 7:30 is our next meeting. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
All right, have a good night. Thank you.